Fellow at the Institute of Public Affairs, Georgina Downer. Georgina, good morning.
Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
What's happening out there?
Well, I thought we'd start with ScoMo's speech today.
ScoMo being Scott Morrison,
the Treasurer of Australia.
He's a little more respectful, please.
Yeah, I know. But I fondly know him as ScoMo, as I'm sure both you do. He's launching a Productivity Commission report today called Shifting the Dial. And I think this is quite an interesting report from what I've seen, at least in the newspaper reporting. It's suggesting that we need company tax cuts to remain competitive, which is a serious issue. When you see what Donald Trump's proposing to do in the United States, query whether he'll get it through, but 20% corporate tax rate there, the UK is getting 17%. And we're going to get, just for small and medium enterprises, 25% over 10 years. He's also going to propose some other ideas. One is about getting the states to raise their own revenue, and that puts a direct relationship between states' revenue raising and then what they use that money to deliver in terms of
powers
services.
to raise more revenue above the stamp duties and various other revenue streams they have already.
So you know this delightful term, horizontal fiscal equalisation. So this is about trying to find better ways to make states more accountable for what they are earning and then raising, but then in terms of what they use that money for in service delivery.
Yes, I'm sure ratepayers and taxpayers in the states would just be delighted to hear all that.
Yeah, well, I guess in terms of a reform agenda, you would link that with reducing revenue raising in other aspects of the economy and in the federal sphere. I'm sure that would be part of the deal making, and that should be part of the deal making in the future. So it's some exciting times for economic reform, which is always good.
If it pans out that way.
If it pans out, yes.
Now, the Australian has a story on the continuing star over energy prices.
That's right. So with last week's announcement by Josh Frydenberg and Malcolm Turnbull of this proposed national energy guarantee, and the suggestion by the Energy Security Board that it would reduce power prices by about $115, which was met with some disappointment that it wasn't a greater reduction. Modelling has come out from the Climate Change Authority that Labor's proposed 50% renewable energy target would actually cost around $200 a year more if it was implemented, which is the equivalent of an increase of $1,921 between period of 2020 to 2030. So a clear choice there in terms of the impact on people's hip pocket when it comes to energy prices.
So where is that modelling from?
This is from the Climate Change Authority.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, we'll see what the Labor opposition has to say about that. I'm sure they wouldn't just accept that as
no, but it
written and as law.
But it is worth considering when we're looking at this policy mix that's being proposed. The impact of those very significant renewable energy targets. And we saw what happened in South Australia, of course, where they have a 50% renewable energy target, and they now have rolling blackouts and the highest power
the
prices.
big one caused by the storm.
And continuous blackouts subsequent to that storm, and they have the highest power prices in the entire world.
That's one of the most contested issues in national politics at the moment. So we won't, as I've said before on this program, go down that rabbit hole. But Michael's point is a very good one. Absolutely, that storm caused that blackout, and it's been attributed to renewable power in a rather convenient way by those who oppose targets, I think you can fairly say.
But if you don't have stable baseload power, because all your energy sources are coming from wind and solar and renewable energy,
it doesn't logically follow that that's by definition unstable.
Well, it is by definition unstable when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine.
But when you have a combination of all those things, that's the rabbit hole I mentioned.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, exactly. We should actually devote an entire show to this.
We really should. I mean, this is one of the great fact checks of the last couple of years.
Relitigate that argument.
Yeah. Let's move on to your next topic, which is the assisted dying bill in Victoria. Now, it's passed the lower house, but it seems that now the real pressure and the real argument is coming to be on the upper house, because they're going to have to ratify it.
That's right, and the numbers seem very close there. It looks like it's about 20-20 for yes and no, but there have been quite significant interventions in the last few days. Of course, the AMA has been consistently opposed to this bill, but we had Paul Keating and, of course, Tony Abbott. So some significant figures as well as significant stakeholders like the AMA, very much opposed to what would be a really big change in our society, from a society that values life to one that allows doctors to support people to take their own lives. And Philip Nitschke, of course, a long-time advocate for euthanasia, has come out yesterday, I understand, to say that he thinks people over the age of 70 should have access to pills to take their own life, irrespective of the reason.
Let's take Nitschke out of it. He's got nothing to do with this legislation, and his model is nothing to do with what's been passed by the lower house. So a bit of a red herring there. But I guess the question is, who's going to gear up now for the strong lobbying to make sure that if they don't want to see it passed, that they will see it passed? Because the Catholic Church has got a couple of bushfires to fight here. They're fighting same-sex marriage. They've then got to focus, if they want to, also on fighting this one too. So can they split their attention?
Oh, well, absolutely. And this is an issue that I don't think has had enough attention in Australia. I mean, if this legislation passes in Victoria, this is a game changer. I mean, this really does change the way we view life, and the way we talk about death, and the way we look at palliative care. So I think there is much
it changes
more
the way we view life. It's a very, very limited bill, a very conservative one. I suspect a lot of people, if it passes, who think they'll be able to use this bill, will find, to their disappointment, that they won't be able to. You have to be in a very, very specific place right at the end of life to use it.
It has to pass first, and there are some heavy hitters on both sides of politics. I think it's instructive, the number of prime ministers, former prime ministers on both sides. Paul Keating, Kevin Rudd, yesterday reaffirming his concerns about it.
Yes.
Tony Abbott, John Howard,
Malcolm Turnbull, yes.
Saying don't pass this bill. So, and you're pretty clued into the Victorian Liberal Party. And we saw yesterday some numbers shifting, some Liberal MPs, MLCs, previously in sport, now opposed to it. So it could struggle to get through the upper house.
I think it will struggle. I think there are serious concerns about the safeguards with this bill, but I also think there are broader philosophical concerns about as I was saying, the value people place on life, but also the potential for undue pressure to be put on people at a very vulnerable stage of their life, at the end of their lives. And those issues, I don't think, have been fleshed out properly in the public debate.
Let's have a look at your last topic there. This comes from The Australian, and this goes back to Japan, which is a place you care about very much.
I do care about Japan very much, having served there as a diplomat for 4 years. And there's a general election over the weekend, and the Prime Minister Abe was returned, which was expected, with an over two-thirds majority. I mean, we can't even contemplate an over two-thirds majority, but it's a first-past-the-post system there, so if you have disaggregated opposition parties, then you can achieve that type of result. But what will be significant is his attempts to change the Japanese constitution, which has a pacifist clause, a renunciation of war clause, and the impacts that's going to have across the region. And of course, impacts will be felt in Australia, with concerns about North Korea and the ability of Japan to put pressure on North Korea.
I suspect a lot of people who 20 years ago might have had a problem with that might have less of a problem now, given North Korea.
I think that's absolutely right, yeah.
Georgina, good to see you.
You too.
Thank you.